everybody. Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather, and it might feel and maybe even a little bit look like summer out there, but I can guarantee you spring is nowhere near done with us yet. I asked for your pictures today to kind of get an idea of what it looks like out there, and Stephanie Cates sent this picture in from Navarro Mills Lake. I love this picture because not only does it show the blue skies with all that haze out there, you can actually see the trees that are engulfed by the lake here. We've had so much rain that now there's parts of the lake where there was land for a long time where there's land no more. So we've had plenty of rain here. Unfortunately, we've got more on the way. We also have Jamie Price from Chatfield that sent this picture, and you can just see all of that haze here. And that's just a combination of the particulate matter in the air as well as that high humidity. And there's plenty of that to go around as well. We have to look at our records today. We won't quite get to record heat, but it's going to be headed that direction. 99 degrees at DFW in the sweltering summer of 1980, 98 degrees in 1904 and 2018 in Waco. That norm of 87 degrees, that is fairly warm already, and we're going to be higher than that. So, and unfortunately, Jimmy Porch, your logo covers up some graphics there, so I'll have to take that off just briefly here. Of course, this is sponsored, the lives are always sponsored by Jimmy Porch, but I want you to be able to see this. 94, 95 degrees for your temperatures today. Should be a norm of 87 degrees. That's defaulting back to the normal low here. The normal low, again, is, well, let's see, the computer's wanting to, I think the computer is as tired as I am of all of this activity this season. Lows 71, 72 degrees, and your norm, of course, there is 67. We do have a heat advisory tomorrow. Now, if you looked at the map just now, farther east were lower temperatures. So why is the heat advisory there? Well, I have to factor in the humidity with those higher temperatures. Dry air heats more efficiently. So where there's drier air to the west, I'm generally going to put those temperatures a degree or two higher. Further east and south, there's higher humidity. So that might mean lower air temperatures, but higher humidity means a higher heat index. I hear it all the time. People make fun of the heat index and say, well, if it feels like 102, just tell me it's 102. Here's the reason that matters. In these areas where you have that higher humidity, it makes it harder for the body to regulate its temperature. You sweat to regulate your temperature, but it's not the act of sweating, it's the evaporation of that sweat. When you have high humidity, you don't evaporate as much, and water actually holds in temperature. So you're actually overheating more when you have higher humidity and you're not able to evaporate. So that's what we're looking at here, and that's why that heat advisory was put into place, because it makes a more dangerous situation that is effective until 8 p.m. tonight. Now, we also, if that wasn't bad enough, we also have an air quality alert today in the Metroplex and the adjoining counties. So Dallas, Tarrant counties, as well as the counties surrounding them. For our particular area, that means Johnson and Ellis. It's caused by ozone pollution, high temperatures, and low winds. So you have warmer temperatures that make the air more conducive to that pollution kind of hanging around. Low wind means it's just going to hang there. And the high humidity and sunlight make it more visible. That's that haze that you're seeing out there. So when you have high humidity, those water particles, that water vapor, just kind of absorbs that particulate matter, and when the sun goes through it, it's easier to see. So unfortunately, it's humid enough and there's enough pollution in the air that it just looks and feels, and when you breathe it in, smells terrible. I don't know if you can smell pollution, but I feel like there's so much in the air, there's bound to be something that you can sense out there. You want to limit outdoor activity if you're sensitive to those that lower air quality there. You also want to try to make sure you have your inhalers and those kind of things if that is needed. And you want to take measures to mitigate output, meaning if you can maybe drive less or maybe carpool or those kind of things, any of those little things matters and makes a difference if you can reduce how much pollution we're putting out into the air. So just a few things to keep in mind, especially for today. Now, here's the big picture here, and yeah, if you're looking at this and you follow me enough, you know that I'm about to talk about this stationary front. These things love to hang around, and that's what they do. They're stationary. They're not moving, so that will be around today, and that will be the focal point of storms later on this afternoon and evening. And this system will move to the east, but this stationary front's just going to kind of hang around a while, so we have more storms possible this week. So the water vapor, you can see that there's drier air in the upper levels. Unfortunately, we're not able to do much to get that down to the lower levels here. And there's upper level moisture there in the Pacific Ocean that bringing that southwest flow. We've got a northwest flow here, and that northwest flow is going to be responsible for bringing more storms to our area. We've got quite the setup this week. Here's for later on today, this evening. We'll talk timing here in just a moment. It's kind of localized, and you can see that here. The dry line off to our west is going to kick off more storms later today, and those will try to move eastward. As we've seen the last several days, you kind of get a feel of the storms popping up out west, and then we'll see if they make it or not. We'll see if they fight the cap, they have daytime heating long enough, different factors. So that will be our setup for today. Tomorrow, very different setup. You can see this you can almost see the track of a northwesterly complex moving in. That's what we're going to have. We've had those before here in North Texas, and they always kind of get on our nerves because they're not always easy to time and track, at least ahead of time. Now, here's how things shake out as far as timing. By the way, I should mention this too, for today, the higher risk is going to be large hail and possibly a tornado or two. That's because we'll be looking at the possibility of those rotating updrafts. That makes it much easier to make and grow hail sizes. And then that does sometimes lead to some of those rotating storms that could cause tornadoes as well. Tomorrow, much more of a wind risk. Damaging winds, that's going to be our big deal here in the area tomorrow. And that will make sense as we look forward here. But as I said, damaging winds, not so much an issue today, although I will say that we could have gustier winds behind those storms, or at least after they end. Hail will be the larger risk, and we do have a low-end tornado risk for today. Let's get into timing, right? You want to know about that, but here's the trick. It depends on when and where they develop. This is the NAM model, the 12Z run earlier today, and this doesn't say it's going to be exactly over Parker County at exactly 5 p.m. This is a general idea of there might be a few storms across the state along the dry line, and it might happen to pop up west of Fort Worth. So that's kind of what we are looking at in terms of the in terms of where things will develop and when. I think it's going to be ahead of this. It'll be mostly daytime heating time, right? Starting as early as 2 o'clock, I think more 3, 4, 5 o'clock for the development out west. And again, we'll see if those can make it across our area. By 7 o'clock, we should see those getting closer. But here's what I want to show you. You can see these plumes here. That's that anvil. That's the high level clouds that spread way out. And if you remember, we had those random bursts of wind from these storms in Midlothian. I think had most of that, Midlothian, Mansfield area, some of that in Waxahachie a few days ago. But part of that happening is you have this anvil that blows all the way here, but you have the cap, right? And the cap is downward moving air. Well, when that energy moves out from the storm, where is it going to go? It's going to get pushed downward. It doesn't have that updraft to push it up anymore. So then that starts pushing all that energy downward. All that wind makes it down to the surface, especially after the storm falls apart. Once they weaken, they don't have the updraft to hold all that energy up anymore. All that's going to get pushed down. So that's how you can get those gusty winds at the surface. 9 o'clock at night, look at this, just how it's projecting all of these anvils and plumes going. So, like I said, we will have to watch for those random pushes of gusty winds. The winds are not very extensive at all today, so you're going to notice that difference. And then we could have 1 or 2 more storms popping up, but by 11 o'clock, we'll see those storms falling apart. That might be when we start to see more of those kind of random bursts of gusty winds. But that's when they start to fall apart because they have less heating to deal with. They've had time to kind of hit the cap and for the cap to take those down as well. Now, pushing forward to 8 a.m. tomorrow, this is where things get a little less clear. I do think that earlier in the morning we could see more storms popping up, and we're going to start to see off to our northwest things start getting a little more organized up in western Oklahoma. So as we go forward here at noon, there you can see this complex has come forward. And again, timing, trajectory, all this stuff is tough because these little features here, it's hard for the models to know exactly what's going to happen with those. It's not like it's a big low pressure system or a front, but this is just a guesstimation. That's at noon. Now 2 p.m. we start getting into the afternoon, we start heating up. Well, heat means stronger storms usually because that increases the lift, your convection, right? And right around 4 o'clock, that's when it has it coming through. That's when we also see more storms off to the west. As you saw, the higher risk is to the west, so it will be affiliated with those newer storms that are popping up, but they will be part of a larger development here. The HR model has much more convection, but again, these models are going to disagree and kind of make their best guesses. So 6 o'clock tomorrow looks like, if it follows this trajectory, it's mostly south of us, but because of the way these complexes work, there will be more rain behind it. Here's the thing, we will have more rain and there will be plenty of downpours on the front end. We could still have a few hours of rain behind it. So I do expect to see some flooding going on tomorrow as well. So I probably will have to post another flood watch, as if we haven't had enough of those already. By 8 o'clock, I think most of this is south of us. Again, it's hard to see exactly how much rain we're going to have behind this whole thing. This model pretty well thinks we're going to be getting rain the rest of the day. And we could, but we could also have some drier air pushing in behind that, pushing all of that outward. So we'll have to watch and see. So here is the forecast, and unfortunately there's not a whole lot of certainty I can give you with this. Today, a 30% chance of storms. That's what I have for us today. 71 for our low tonight. Today, again, mid-90s, very humid, heat advisory in Navarro and Hill counties down south and east. So tomorrow, I have this 50%, you can see that's mostly covering the first half of the day. I do think most of the activity will probably be during the first half of the day or during the day. It really just depends on when and where that complex comes together. And then tomorrow night into Wednesday morning, probably another one. And again, the timing is iffy here too. So Tuesday, we will probably get a little bit of a lull in the activity. Late Tuesday, early Wednesday, we get a system probably coming in, but again, that could persist into the day Wednesday as well. So a 30% chance the rest of the day Wednesday. And then the latter half of the week just gets more complicated. Thursday, Friday, I just have a 30% chance of storms each day. We could see another one of these complexes come in, or we could just see storms that pop up in the afternoon. It's really unclear at this point. So this is kind of a week when you just have to roll with the punches. We've done that so far this season. We'll be all right. We'll make it. But severe weather, not clear yet what we're looking at these days, but we could have more, so just stay tuned. Saturday, Sunday, getting into the weekend, it does look like we will have a lower chance of storms, but still can't be ruled out. Still waiting to see how some of this earlier week stuff does to determine what the weekend looks like. The good news is the temperatures are back in the 8s here, the 80s range, at least mid 80s here, and we're still going to have some humidity, so it'll still feel pretty warm out there, but maybe we can take a little bit of the edge off by getting out of the 90s. Winds will pick up as well, start mixing up the wind a little bit, mixing up the air some, get us a little bit of a breeze. For the weekend, of course, it is the 54th annual Gingerbread Trail, and I will be downtown at least part of the day Saturday for the vendor market. And so come out and say hello, and we can talk about all this crazy weather that we've had. But that will be a great event. And the good news is, of course, it's inside for a lot of that. Of course, the different tours and things. So even if we do have some rain on Saturday, you can still have a great time at that event. So for today, just a recap, thunderstorms possible later today. Tuesday morning, I think we start to see those storms moving in. I think we'll see some scattered activity around our area. The rest of the day, we'll be watching to see when and where that storm system comes in. Another one of those possible late Tuesday, early Wednesday could bring more storms through the day Wednesday. The rest of the week is nebulous, and then this weekend, warm, possibly a few storms, but we'll get a better idea of that forecast as we get closer. So thank you so much for tuning in. I just kind of wanted to give you an idea. We are on the cusp of a very active week, and I wanted to make sure you had at least some kind of idea of what we were looking at here weather-wise, and I don't think we've had any questions coming in. Beth saying, yeah, you sure wish we could get rid of this humidity. It's miserably hot and steamy outside. It is. And part of the reason we have so much humidity is because we have so much surface water, right? We've had so much rain. All of that's evaporating. All of that is adding to the humidity in the air. I mean, I was talking to someone earlier, Evan Andrews, in fact, and he was telling me this is near record humidity, and it doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. We just can't seem to get that dry air to mix down. So I'll be keeping an eye on that, but unfortunately, we do have to be prepared for a lot of humidity, and we will get to a point eventually where we're just not getting any humidity or moisture at all, and that will be miserable here. And Mirka, you're asking about the tornado probability for today and tomorrow. That's what we talked about earlier, where for today, there's a low tornado chance. For tomorrow, much lower. Because we're just the modes of storms we're looking at today, we could be looking at a couple of supercells out there. And then tomorrow, it will be lines of storms, which means a much higher damaging wind risk primarily. So there is a tornado risk today. Not high, but it is there. It's a fairly low risk overall, and really it's a low risk that anybody's going to see rain because of just the low coverage overall. And then tomorrow, I don't think that tornadoes are really part of that process. So stay tuned to South Metro Weather. We have a lot more to cover going forward. I appreciate you tuning in for this live forecast update. Normally these are recorded ahead of time, but things kept changing, so I decided, we'll just do a live, go forward from there. And yeah, I hope you appreciate this, and I hope that you stay tuned for more possible storms later today, definitely storms tomorrow, and unfortunately going forward the rest of the week. As I stand here awkwardly unable to, let me see if I can get I can't get the mouse to work here, so I can't close the stream as I awkwardly stand here. I'm telling you guys, this computer is about exhausted as it possibly can be with all of these storms. So hopefully, we'll get to a point soon where we can get a break. So until then, stay tuned. More updates are to come.